All right, let's talk about Battlegrounds at least, where we think we might be going. I think even in Death we'll probably choose Battlegrounds, so my thought initially is Braxis Holdout. It's not banned. Battlefield of Eternity and Cursed Hollow are banned.
Yeah, it makes the most sense that they would try and do that. And it really does. I don't know. That one I'm torn on if that gives them an advantage. It would be like the lack of comfort of Roll20 might be something they are able to abuse, but it's also a snowballing map, and the early game hasn't necessarily been their strength. So it's like, is that worth it? I feel like probably. At this point, you need a Hail Mary. So might as well go for it. Braxis Holdout seems to be the one fulfilling that the best. All their major maps are out the window. And when you're the lesser team, that usually is not the best statement to be said. So I really feel like anywhere that just isn't normal for Roll20 is better.
Let's check back in with the cheers before we find out what map number 4 will be. So close, guys! 19 million, not 1,000, with 900,000.
Will you say all the numbers so we, in fact, can verify that you can read numbers,
No.
Thank you very much for not doing that. I was going to feel really bad if you even began to attempt that. 90 million.
Yep.
We're closing in on
we're
closing in on the Arcane Lizard. We're far away from the Deadly Lizard. Just keep up the cheers, boys and gals.
Yeah.
Everybody, just cheer. Just
support your favorite teams. Unlock some items. There's a lot of good reasons to do it.
You don't have to just click it on the screen too. You can cheer in real life too. I mean,
who are you cheering for today?
I decided that I'm going to cheer for the Wang Doodles, which it's old species of an animal that exists in a book that I read in the 2nd grade. What about you?
I'm cheering for Kelly today.
Kelly.
Kelly's my hero. Battleground number 4 is Infernal Shrines. Oh, man.
So
I was hoping they picked Battleground.
Yeah, I was hoping they did too, because this isn't really what I wanted a game number 4 to go to. Infernal Shrines. Gilly.
It's a testament. Our immediate fear is a testament to how good Roll20 is on Infernal Shrines.
Yeah. It's their probably best map. If it isn't their best map, it was. And it was so good that they didn't even get to just play it. Like before, there was an era, I think it was all of Phase 1, where you look at it, every team was just ban Infernal Shrines versus Roll20. You just don't even risk it. You don't even take the opportunity. Granted, it eventually became kind of a standard for the rest of them, but I feel like that's because Roll20 was so good on it that everybody just accepted, it's best to set Roll20 a step behind and just universally ban the map.
Yeah, and then Roll20 started to play more Tomb, then they shut out MVP Black on Tomb, and that sort of became the favorite for Roll20, although I would hazard a guess as to say it is no longer as much of a favorite as maybe some other Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
They've been picking more Dragon, and they have not looked as dominant on Tomb of the Spider Queen as they have in the past.
But here we are. Angels singing, choir's backing it up. Infernal Shrines is where we're going to head for what could be the last game of this series.
Last game of the night. And then you guys can go back and watch Tempest versus L5, because I'm telling you, you need to.
It was pretty dope. I got to see a couple highlights, and I would greatly suggest it.
Yeah, that's your HGC homework given out by Gillian Dread. Professor Gillinot. I about said Dreadweed, and Professor Dreadweed, you can't take Professor Dreadweed seriously.
I think we could, but I understand where you're coming from. Call me optimistic. I don't know. Even in Death, ban out the Medivh. Not one Glarn to deal with that. ETC is the hover for the 2nd. This has been such a common trend, more so with the this series, but it's been a rising trend for the ETC. I'm just surprised that Roll20 is the team that's willing to ban it.
Where's our choir?
Yeah, I'm actually. It's just eerie now. Wait.
There we go.
Oh,
it's Lucio.
If we ask them,
is that Lucio? No.
The fact that you even can begin to identify this music is honestly impressive.
They have to know that it was Medivh ETC, right? Maybe not. Maybe not with the ETC, but that's what Roll20 banned last game.
The Medivh, I mean, I guess that is their ban, so it's like, yes. The ETC, I think it's reasonable to assume.
Yeah.
I don't think you should view it as standard, but not out of the realm of, if you were to list top 5, I think ETC falls in that department.
Dahaka?
I think they Malthael.
Genji?
I think they'll just Malthael. It'll get weird. Greymane or Malthael is what I want to see out of Even in Death. You watch. Dang it. That was legitimately the only reason I wanted the Malthael. Malthel, Garrosh, give it to me. No, there's way too many busted heroes available right now. What does Roll20 want?
Man, I don't know.
We've got Genji, Abathur, Tassadar.
Greymane.
Greymane. Okay,
Let's
so
play less Greymane.
you got to go with you either Tass.
Nah.
Nah.
Not Prismat. I'm betting Prismat's like, I don't want to Tass.
I'm willing to say that one of these two picks is still a Malthel, I think.
Yeah.
I think it is. And if it does, I think this is a great display of strength of Malthel into the Dahaka matchup and the, the thought process going behind it. That it's even with multiple OPs available, it does leave the situation to where the laning mismatch is more valuable to the members of Roll20 than anything else.
Malthel, if they're going to pick Garrosh too, make sure that they don't give...
Nah, they give it up. Go with the Greymane instead.
Right.
Focus more on the Shrine.
And Rhaegar. Lightning Bond gives him a lot of Shrine control too. Wave clear in the mid bot. Now Even in Death can ban Malthel if they want.
They can.
But that means that Roll20 likely already has figured out what they're going to solo lane with if that's banned.
If the Malthel ends up getting banned out into the secondary ban phase?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because they didn't pick it here. I think they already have another idea.
Oh, I mean that essentially they're at least willing to go one of two, right? Like as if they ban the one that we... Okay, no, that makes a lot more sense. Sorry. I was just like, I mean, like they probably do, but I was just like, I'm missing the argument behind it, but that...
They've had a lot of focus on solo lane.
And the Goku off lane. Even in Death, taking a bit here. They took a while to figure out the Dahaka. Taken even longer maybe to figure out this 2-3. Something with Shrine control is the biggest thing we need to see here. There's the Malthel.
Oh, man.
Then
Garrosh. I was like, what if they took the Garrosh? Because ETC's already been banned and Roll20 didn't take a warrior.
You know what happens when you take a strategy from Roll20?
Justin displays Arthas.
They prove to you either how busted it is or how not busted it is pretty quickly. They either show you the solution, not true. I don't think Even in Death brings enough to the table to maybe force you to see a solution, nor is this high enough impact, but maybe a bit of the thought process on how to counter it, or display, just again, how strong that synergy between those heroes can be.
Love seeing that Even in Death is willing to pick up Dahaka and Malthel together. So far, the only team that we've seen be willing to do that has been Tempo Storm, maybe Gale Force. Gale Force has been willing to run a couple of different melee assassins, or at least not, traditionally people from the same role. But Tempo Storm has talked about how good those heroes are last week, and Even in Death aren't just going to ban Malthel, they're going to take both of them. And I guarantee that was not expected from Roll20.
Yeah, it was not. And it's on a map where you can get away with it too. It's not like this is done without consideration. A map like Infernal Shrines really does accent having those AoE heroics, and having time-sensitive heroics like that of the Tormented Souls is more likely to gain a lot of value across the board. This is a clever draft and adjustment for Even in Death. But by no means are they out of the woodworks yet here. We still have to figure out where the members of Roll20 committed. Their draft is about as vague as it can get for having only two. It accents a map, it's synergistic, and it's a bit objectively powerful. About the dream scenario for your 1-2. And it doesn't feel like the draft has been manipulated too heavily against them.
Prismatis has been played Tychus. Pops out more with Shrine Control. And you have an effective way of dealing with Dahaka and Garrosh. You have somebody who is more survivable with Odin.
What if you just Abathur Genji?
Okay. I like it too.
Like, it's made it this late into the draft.
Yeah.
And when I see, I mean, it's into a double warrior Malthel. Maybe not the area you want to all into those, but anytime I see that opportunity still left up in the later stages of the game, I'm like, it is hard to give up.
Goku proving that it is hard to ban him out of heroes. Even if you take Dahaka, Malthel, and ban Illidan, he still has someone he can side lane with. He has Leoric in a new Barak.
The Leo to match the Dahaka side lane.
Even in Death now, final 2 picks, support. And I don't know what at this point, this draft.
I mean, you'd assume a ranged assassin. Li Ming wouldn't be too shabby. Genji also, because of his availability and having the Malthel high up, is
that's true.
Reasonable pick. Anything, I think the biggest thing is something to execute is all I would like to see. Because you do have the double warrior, you have the Malthel, everybody's prepped to be beefy, everybody is prepped to set up the team fight. Somebody's got to be the executioner. Whether it be in a merciful form or not so merciful. Stukov? You know, I mean, not what I was looking for, but it might be able to, it might suffice. She just doesn't have necessarily the, oh, look at one kill happen, let me make a second one happen, the same way that the Genji can.
And Li Ming.
On the side of Roll20, though, what do we think it is, the last pick? Is it going to be the Falstad? Are they willing to pick up the Falstad? It would still meet the parameters that they have displayed through the earlier games and when they were willing to pick it up. But it just, they also have Greymane in this game, which Glaurung can flex over into that and suddenly making this really anybody's hero. Not anybody, Prismat or Glaurung. And there's Prismat Stykus.
What are you thinking, Dread? We've got Vala over Genji for even in death, and then Tychus. So Glaurung will be flexing back over to Greymane.
I like Tychus.
Okay.
Tychus is one hero I'm always kind of a fan of, just because he is my, like, from my point of view, like, I view him as more of, like, North America views probably things like Vala, where it's like if I have, like, just need a generic DPS, he gets a little bit of everything done, right? With his Odin, it's a pretty high impact. You can go for warrior killer, you can go backline killer, decent wave clear. It's got a little bit of everything, and still the gap closer to get away. So I like the fact that we see the Tychus coming out here from the members of Roll20. What is it?
This is the first time we're seeing Tychus versus Garrosh.
Yes, and
it was Roll20.
Yeah.
And it's Prismaticism who picks different talents.
So you're thinking
fully loaded
at level 4. Get the CDR on your passive so you can get more opportunities to whale away there into the Garrosh.
I like it.
I like
just
it too.
Just not the bigger they are.
Have you actually played it in practice? I haven't gotten it through practice either.
Yeah, I went on vacation this last week. So
how dare you actually try and enjoy yourself? You don't eat, breathe, and sleep Heroes of the Storm?
I do, but I did it in another location.
I refuse to believe that a true statement. Can't believe.
Who's going to win this game?
I got to go with Roll20.
Right.
There's not enough arguing, shouting here for even in death. Maybe if it wasn't a Vala. I feel like I don't even feel like the Vala maybe hurt their chances, but again, it's like I'm looking for change here, something to stand out. Nothing seems to do so.
Well, let's get to it then. Even in death, can they win another game versus Roll20? Reset their win streak again for a second time and take us to Game 5? We find out now.
Reset their win streak again, Gilly?
Yeah.
Come on.
Why not? Their win streak right now is 1.
So what do we got for talents? We already have a small adjustment for Prismat. Combat Tactician.
Yeah, basic attacks, reducing cooldown of run and gun. It's happening.
It is. I think you're right. I think you nailed it.
Leo also is already building into his Drain Hope build. We may even see Willing Vessel for an additional amount of % max health damage, but it does show that, like you said, Dread, Roll20 is giving us some insight into how to counter Garrosh. It's something that they have to think about a lot when they run this strategy as often as they do.
And it looks like Leo is at least enough for them. The Tychus, I don't feel, was picked because of the Garrosh, and I want to get that crossed because a lot of people at home probably see the Tychus. They're like, okay, that's a little bit different than normal, but considering the team, the comfort of the hero pools, and more importantly, honestly, just Tychus is an underestimated hero, I feel like, across the board on a map like Infernal Shrines.
Yeah.
So it's just more that, yes, it is nice, and probably Garrosh did take influence, but Tychus is not a only if Garrosh exists on the other side type hero. I never realized I liked Tychus that much, I'll be honest. Not until this moment.
I didn't know you did either.
I actually like him as a hero a lot. I just, you know, much like I dislike Toronto because I feel like people give her too much credit, I feel like I like Tychus because people don't give him enough. He's out there fighting the good fight, losing cigars. I mean...
Dread, you can't say he's fighting the good fight because you have not played StarCraft. You have no clue.
Yeah, I actually don't. I don't even know if he's honestly fighting. I'm just assuming so because he does so in this video game. And he walks around with a huge-ass gun.
Here's a little bit of lore for you. He's stuck in that suit.
Is he? Did he volunteer to go into it?
No, he was stuck in it because he was in prison, and they let him out with a secret mission. But as part of his penance, he's stuck in a suit. Except if you play with the pool party, Tychus, am I right?
Hey! Hey! We're flexing. Somebody bust out the lotion. 10 seconds for the first Immortal phase. Punisher phase, not Battlefield of Eternity. Different Diablo map. Pressure's being released here on the bottom half there with the brilliant 2-1-2 that we see even in Death on displaying today.
Roll20 often will avoid the first shrines, but they're posturing in a way that looks like maybe they still want to contest this first shrine. But we'll see them avoid and ignore a lot of the earlier shrines, especially if they know that their opponents overcommit resources to it.
The Leo Dahaka, every other lane soak strategy is going through. The Royal Focus to be able to deal with that, picked up by Goku. Drag number 1 goes in, Glarong split through. Drag for real from Frozen X. Glarong ends up going down. How many more? It looks like only 1. But it did cost a Dahaka burrow, so it's whether or not that Royal Focus split pressure is going to make up for this Punisher or not.
He's already getting the minions pretty close to draining ammo from towers. By the way, we do not have fully loaded, but it is in the rhythm, so good to see that Prismaticism is still setting up in a way that he can make sure and still do the percent max damage to ignore the health, or ignore the armor of Garrosh once he gets to the low health, high armor situation.
So now we're in those kind of really cool situations where a nerfed talent at 13, which was only nerfed because In the Rhythm was so meta at the point in time. Do we still see that picked up here now that there's an argument to go into In the Rhythm, or do you avoid it not going with the Tiger Seal and instead something like Neo Steel Coding? Granted, there isn't an argument so much for Neo Steel Coding, and that generally is the alternative 13 Tychus's move into. It's just cool to see. It's those, honestly, it's that kind of stuff that makes me love watching Heroes of the Storm. And I know that seems weird, but it really is the thing that separates it for me.
Yeah, my favorite thing is talent deviations, changes. That's why I loved casting the Chinese region as much as I could last year. They love to change up their talent tiers or their talent builds, like Tiger. Tiger the tank.
Who's the support?
Yep. He was a tank briefly. First Punisher phase is done. Even in Death got that. They are staying caught up with Roll20 in this early game.
And with the pressure picked up, double camp for Even in Death. I'd like to see them try and group up and maybe apply some pressure to the members of Roll20. I just want to see a little less passiveness from the earlier stages of the game for them. Just because letting your opponent do what they want to do when they're better than you typically is not a winning strategy. Unless you get the miracle fights like they were able to do so on Sky Temple. Oh my goodness, did you see Hao's auto attack damage into that Leo? Forget Stukov chunks, dude.
Yeah, he has very high singular attack damage, but his attack speed is very slow to compensate. Frozen X still not quite out of this yet, but Burrow's at the gate. Homicidal will just throw him into the fray just in case to keep Frozen X alive.
That is one of my favorite talents in the game. Lutano teleported over maybe the wrong wall there. Sidewall's dropped though. He's okay. He makes it out. The Shaman Camp pressing up through top. As long as that still holds its own and Battery is going to keep his level 1 alive, he's going to do just fine there into Prismat.
But the problem is the other lanes. There is so much being done by Roll20 in both mid and bot happens to be where the next shrine is going to happen. Roll20, because of the sheer amount of pressure they've been able to do to towers in the interim between the first and the second shrines, now is set up very well to move back to that, get an initial lead in the Skeletal Defenders, and then hopefully be able to use the damage they did to that lane to take out the first fort.
10 Skeletal Defenders for Roll20. But Leo is making the transition down slowly but surely. Only 4 separate these two teams. Flip number 1. Burrow charge is used from Justing. Drag lands. Nobody down yet. Homicidal's the focus, but he heals himself on up. Thanks to Hao Nguyen on that support row. Glarong takes poison. He's actually going to be lethal. No way, he lives? They keep everybody alive. Glarong barely keeps himself above the threshold.
He even had the reduced healing from Touch of Death. Lutano does not have Tormented Souls, and yet I see a whole lot of Reaper's Mark. He is playing out of his mind this game.
He is doing a very good job. The Punisher goes over to Roll20. Homicidal gets a toss. No Punisher leap.
Was no minigun initially on him, but he still had the overkill. Finally, Garrosh goes down, and the Cursed Bullet used by Glaurung. Goku coming in, catches Lutano with the Entomb. Lurking arm behind.
I just want to shout out Glaurung right there. He did something where It's another one of those small things, but it's so cleverly done. So Lutano gets trapped in there with the Malthael, and he throws out the E. If the E hits, then he teleports over the wall. So you see Glorong, he knows that that target is dead 100%. He starts immediately walking away from the Entomb to make sure that he can't get out. Granted, you know, you could make the argument he should have sidestepped it so it's faster. He did what he needed to do to be able to get the kill there, and it's that kind of stuff brilliantly done here, and it's the small things that kind of add up in competitive Heroes of the Storm.
Just like with experience, Cursed Bullet used just to dissuade Homicidal from stepping forward long enough for Roll20 to take out that fort. Pre-cleanse just in case Frozen X landed that drag, but it was also dodged. I am really excited to see how the setup for Roll20, now that we're at the mid-game, now that In the Rhythm has some stacks, how are Roll20 able to handle this Garrosh with Leoric, with Tychus building up In the Rhythm, and then having Cursed Bullet. You can already see that is the initial burst. That gets him down to the 35% of his health, and then from there, they can start working on whittling down the health bar. When does Prismaticism use his minigun? When do they start to drop down the Drain Hope? All of this, we've been theorizing, but this is the first time we're getting to see it, and I love that it's from Roll20.
Right now, In the Rhythm is sitting at 1.41 seconds added on to that minigun use.
Okay.
Typically, you want like 3 is like the I'm good. Like I am going to be a problem in team fights. 5 is just ridiculous. Granted, all these have changed according to the 13 nerf that happened, again, with that healing at that threshold, but not considering the heal, just raw damage output. This is still pretty realistic projection numbers from him, now at 1.6.
Yeah, he got plenty of time to build up the stacks there thanks to an Entomb. By the way, 13 did still pick up Neo Steel coating.
Homicidal finds a flip on a Goku, maybe not the target he wants. A flank coming around the backline on Lutano. Glorong goes in Worgen form and establishes dominance, kicks him right on out of there, takes his Shaman camp. Roll20 not giving anything up to Even in Death.
No, and Even in Death now has to deal with that Shaman camp before they can go back to the Shrine if that's what they're going to do. Even sans the 13 talent here that Roll20 has been able to achieve. Other options, they can make sure to keep Dahaka soaking, but man, Leoric, Goku has been playing so well with this Royal-focused Leoric. This bottom lane is now going to be a problem. There's a ton of minions that Even in Death need to make sure that they're soaking there. And that just keeps the Dahaka busy and not necessarily able to join in this fight that's taking place.
Lutano went in with those Tormented Souls, but was deterred. A huge drag and taunt from Homicidal, but it cost him his life. Buds gets flailing swiped away. He actually drops. Now Goku's coming in with that Wraith Walk. He's still got an Entomb. He drops it, locking down Hao and Frozen X. Roll20 is just dominating Even in Death in this fight.
Leoric coming in second. There is a whole lot of experience being lost as the team wipe commences for Roll20.
He started the back, and he just waits the very last second to be able to get the interrupt. I mean, I laugh, even though strategically both of those decisions were the most optimal, to try and force your opponent to auto-attack you as fast as possible so you can die as fast as possible, and you aren't going to do it by doing anything other than just backing. But, you know, just watching Avala back 1 versus 5 in a corner is not something we can say we see too often here at HGC.
That is true. All of Even in Death are hoping they can collapse on Goku. He's trying to get the jukes out, but has been caught by Goku, or by Garrosh.
Gets flipped. And he goes into Ghost form.
But look, Roll20 are just waiting. They're stalling on the Shrine now. They can wait, they can get maybe this Mercenary camp, the Khazra camp here where Glaurung is. They wanted to hold off anyway until they had 16. Now they can just make sure that they wait until they have Goku too.
This is interesting. I've got to go back and watch this replay already. So much to talk about the thought process from the members of Roll20 there. Over the past couple of seconds, it's been cleverly done, but a lot of it does hinge around that 16 we were talking about. They find themselves Prismaticism, draw a cleanse, they kill Garrosh. We see the Cocoon being used by Justing.
Tormented Souls, but Lutano does not matter, even with everyone in Roll20 going willingly into the choke along with him to hit everyone with the Reaper's Mark. They take down Lutano, they take down Garrosh. They're just going to keep getting all the mercenary camps for the other lanes while Goku casually makes his way up to the shrine.
All right, so we talked about the 13s of Neil still coding and then him still committing to it, but then going with the 16 into his Q. But rather than synergizing that with the 13, the primary damage versus the lead rain, right? No, lead rain's at 16. It's the increased range by 25%, still at the 13 threshold.
Yes.
So not going with the synergy of the 2 armor piercing and that 13, but we still don't see a major spell to argue to go the Neil Steel coding. Am I missing something now? I feel like the answer is no. It's just the raw auto attack, or excuse me, spell damage reduction is enough for them to think it's worth it.
Yeah, Vola is more spell based because she's multi-shot build and the Rain of Vengeance, but you're totally right. It is way more of an auto attack focus. Heroes for Even in Death.
It's just interesting to see that come online here. Even in Death still down another member. More importantly, down the 16. The Punisher sieging up on top, and nobody's going to answer.
Roll20 in mid. They'll start to head up with the Punisher now to the top lane as Even in Death transition up there, leaving mercenary camps in both bot and mid.
Punisher was taken care of. You saw for a moment Lutana wanted to get the initiation in. They found themselves a Glaurung. He goes into Worgen form. Ancestral Rain of Vengeance lands onto 3. Tormented Souls is going to be used, but not in the position that he necessarily wants. Justing first to go down. And now Even in Death want more into the phrase used. Unless a shrub exists, Frozen X is not going to make it. He's going to make a shrub exist. Brush Docks ahead.
Frozen X is there, stepping in. Great totem from Buds, though, slowing him down. Frozen X uses the vent to give himself the movement speed, goes out for the drag. But thankfully for Fanaticism, they had the range and they had the cleanse. He gets out and gets away. So only the 1 kill for Even in Death, taking out a new Barak. But Roll20 weren't able to take down a keep.
They were not able to take down a keep, and there was a lot of things that the members of Roll20 did proper to ensure that only 1 person died. That was, I can't tell who I'm more impressed by, the members of Even in Death understanding the situation, forcing the hand of Roll20, or Roll20 doing about everything they could to make sure they kept all the members alive, other than that Anu Barak, who sadly lost his life pretty quickly through that last fight. But the 16 talent tiers here, Even in Death needs to be grouping, forcing a fight, and be dominant, or at least trade positively into Roll20 here. Otherwise, they'll be fighting that 19 to 20 race.
Yeah, I was watching in that last fight, and even though Garrosh took a ton of damage from Drain Hope from Goku, and then Goku captured him in the Entomb, Prismaticism must have been under fire and felt like he needed to drop his Odin. So he didn't have the follow-up damage from that, from the minigun, to try to do damage there. Maybe he'd already used minigun, and so he just wanted to get into Entomb, or into Odin. But the amount of time that it takes to get into Odin, if it's right in the middle of the fight the way it is, actually can sometimes be a detriment to you as a team, because it gives time where you as one of the primary damage dealers, you're not putting out the damage. Even in Death got that kill for a new Barak, but even with the 1 new Barak kill, it's still 11 kills to 4 in favor of Roll20. Roll20 look very dominant in all the lanes. They just haven't been able to close out a keep yet.
I've been really impressed with Roll20's intent through mercenaries throughout this entire game. Something that they have shown positive signs in the past, but not nearly as consistent as they've been out throughout this game. There's not been a single shrine phase that has withstood mercenary camps pressuring all angles of the map. But talking about pressure, Even in Death's feeling it, is they lose how immediately. Lutana's Tormented Souls is enough to weaken Roll20, but it's just weakening. It is just lopsided as can be here through these fights.
Goku chases down.
He's going down.
Yeah, there's no way he gets out of this, but even with that Malthael versus Goku, actually, there's a sliver of health remaining for Goku. He's gonna go back Shrine. Ignored by Roll20. Even though Goku went back, the rest march forward toward the core of Even in Death.
Talk about confidence. You march through the core when you're Leoric just backed.
Roll20 looking to close out this game just as dominantly as they did in the last on Dragonshire, and they will do so, winning against Even in Death 3-1.
Another solid game coming out from the members of Roll20, but Even in Death did what nobody else has been able to do so far, and that is even just get a win over Roll20. You know, even though that did seem lopsided, again, you guys, if you have not watched Roll20's performance so far, it's everybody they have faced. It's been pretty lopsided. Maybe not as dominant, but there's been very few moments where you're like, that game was competitive all the way through. They pretty much open up a lead, and they just do not let go.
Yeah, Roll20 did seem like maybe earlier on they were playing more risky calls, or maybe their drafting starting to get figured out too. You know, we saw a lot of the drafting choices that Even and Death made, taking away a lot of the priority heroes. Even in that last game, Dahaka and Malthael, those are two generally the heroes that Goku likes to side lane with.
And it was before the secondary ban phase. It wasn't just that they were willing to take them. It was like a blatant, we need to pick this before the secondary ban phase so we know we're denying them away from the opponents. And the ban going into it, there was a lot of thought on the draft from Even and Death for Roll20.
Yeah, and if I were on Roll20, I would be looking at that and realizing that if Even and Death are able to do that, anyone should be able to do that. Roll20 have now been competing for 3 weeks, and they've been generally playing the same things. They have adopted more heroes here and there, and Roll20 or Even in Death maybe has made them show a few different things. We saw Hardened Focus, or not Hardened Focus, Royal Focus, Leoric, but even still, if they don't have things to flex to past that, that may be a potential problem point that Even in Death now has pointed out.
And it's also kind of interesting that Roll20 has been formally known as a team to learn very niche playstyles and be better than everybody else in North America to be able to deal with it. Medivh was the first to make that happen, and obviously that's a different case now, but originally that was the strength of the members of Roll20. So I'm going to kind of throw out a crazy idea that I genuinely think that everybody else respecting Medivh has only helped the members of Roll20. And normally you'd be like, why would that be, right? They're one of their best characters, and the fact that everybody else is picking it up. But now a lot of teams that normally would be like, is this worth the ban against a team like Roll20, commit the ban to the point where Roll20 is getting free Medivh bans that they used to long for, they now get for free because everybody else appreciates the playstyle of Medivh because they have it for themselves. They need it for themselves to be competitors. So suddenly, Roll20 is getting more respect bans, more bans towards a hero they used to get the respect bans for and look to gain an advantage. Now they're legitimately getting it handed on platter. It's like, there's your Medivh. Keep going, right? And then they're like, holy cow, remember when that used to happen? That was their core drafting strategy. Now it's actually being just left out there. It's a meta problem, but it's still a problem that nobody seems to have an answer for.
Battery did tweet, though, the one game that they were able to win, that the Medivh was part of the ultimate plan, and that was the game they won. I don't know. Maybe that's some change that's going to come in. Let's check in with Goku, because he's ready to talk to us after Roll20's win over Even in Death. Hey, Goku, congrats on being able to defeat Even in Death. How are you guys feeling?
We're feeling pretty good. We're trying to set up for next week, if anything. Today's match definitely proved us that, like, even at the lower end of the teams can actually prove a fight, for sure.
So I wanted to ask you what happened on the Sky Temple game. You guys came in and you had a 12-0 record, and you were looking for the 15-0, but unfortunately, Even in Death were the ones to stop you.
It was a couple of mistakes, a couple of misplays, if anything. Unnecessary fights that we didn't need to take. We could have just played the map objective, but we were just too overzealous, in my opinion.
Yeah, do you feel like you guys maybe underestimated Even in Death, or it was just more of a this happened this day kind of thing?
No, it was just over aggressiveness, in my opinion. We like that aggressive play style, and whenever we play aggressively, we get caught up in the moment, and we just continue to play that style.
That makes sense. Dread?
The aggression has been a very common phrase throughout this weekend between you guys and Temple Storm, but yours seem to be a bit different than the rest. You're willing to split multiple members, even to the point where it seems like it would be to a fault. And I have to ask, was that because of your confidence levels displayed versus Even in Death, or is that more the thought process and the shot calling decision-making you guys are going to be making going forward? Mainly when you're willing to go 2 people on one camp and 2 people on another camp, and it's just like, this has got to be punished somehow, right?
Yeah, it's kind of what I was saying before. We were just being too greedy for things that didn't need to. We were pushing our limits way too far onto a team who was obviously in the HGC, and we should have given them more respect. Unfortunately, we didn't, and we lost that one game.
Do you feel like that? Do you feel like you guys displayed more aggression today than you had in the past? Because I feel like you guys had shown, yes, you were willing to maybe bite off a little bit more than you chewed, but there was a different rotation style I feel like you guys conveyed today than others.
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe it's just me. I feel like I've never seen that transition from you guys, but who knows?
All right, Goku. Next match is versus Gale Force Esports. How confident are you guys that you'll be able to take that win?
I'm pretty confident. We obviously have a game plan. Can't really explain too much about it, but in the end, Space Station could do it. I believe we can do it too.
Are you willing to predict a score for the match?
Yeah, I said it before. I'm not gonna repeat. I'm gonna repeat it again. It's gonna be a 3-0. There's no doubt about it.
Nice. All right. I love the confidence. Good luck for you in that match next weekend. And it's your time for shoutouts.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to my team. Even though we did lose that one game, I'm glad they stuck it through. They definitely pulled it through. Shout out to our sponsorships. Shout out to our fans. And, of course, shout out to you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Goku. We've got both series for today done. But don't worry, friends.